They say Egypt still breathes beneath the sand. The ancient gods never truly died, but only sank deeper into the earth, waiting for the day when mortals would dare disturb their rest. Beneath the shifting dunes, between the waters of the Nile and the pillars of forgotten temples, lies something older than history itself, something that was never meant to be unearthed. For thousands of years, the great temple of Karnak has stood as a monument to divine power, a labyrinth of stone and shadow that once echoed with the hymns of priests and the footsteps of pharaohs. Millions have walked its courtyards, gazed at its columns, and whispered prayers to gods whose names are older than memory. Yet few have known what lies beneath. Beneath the colossal pylons, under the weight of carved hieroglyphs and millennia of silence, rests a hidden island sealed away, its existence erased from every tablet, its story buried in secrecy. It began not with myth, but with a sound. In the late 19th century, when Egyptologists began probing the ancient grounds of Karnak, they heard whispers among the workers, tales of hollow earth beneath the temple, of strange echoes that came when they struck the stone. At first, they dismissed it as superstition. But when their tools began to vanish overnight, Karnak itself was built as a map of heaven, each hall and obelisk aligned with celestial precision. Beneath that divine geometry was a secret geography, a subterranean world whispered to house the oldest relics of Thebes, even before the gods Ammonius and Mut rose to prominence. According to a handful of forbidden papyri found later, this hidden complex was known as Duat, the house of the underworld. Archaeologists dismissed it as myth until a series of seismic readings taken in the early 2000s revealed something extraordinary. Beneath the western courtyard, where the sacred lake rests, there was a vast cavity, perfectly symmetrical, with a stone density matching granite, not the sandstone of the temple above. That was the first clue that something impossible lay hidden below. What they discovered next would shake everything we thought we knew about ancient Egypt. Karnak Temple was not built on the earth, it was built over something. Geological anomaly, a perfectly circular island, sealed within layers of sandstone, surrounded by underground water channels. It was as if the temple itself had been designed to bury and protect it. When teams drilled through the deeper layers of sediment, they found fragments of smooth black stone, obsidian-like, unnatural to the Nile Valley. Embedded within, that was when the legends resurfaced. Ancient texts spoke of an island called Tajizer, a sacred land, said to be the first place the god Ammonius emerged from the waters of chaos. Priests called it the island of creation, the site where the world began. It was said that whoever disturbed it would awaken the Eye of Ra, the divine wrath of the sun itself. The story was dismissed for centuries as allegory, a poetic myth about the birth of light. Beneath Karnak, in the silence of the soil, something about that story was starting to feel real. In 2010, a joint French-Egyptian expedition began a restricted dig, using sonar mapping to explore the chamber beneath the sacred lake. They uncovered what appeared to be stone steps descending into the ground, steps carved with symbols never before catalogued. The lines were fluid, almost serpentine, not hieroglyphs, but something older, something alien to Egypt's recorded script. And then they found the door. At a depth of nearly 40 feet, behind a wall of limestone, a sealed entrance was discovered, perfectly intact. The lintel was engraved with the cartouche of Thutmose III. The style was archaic, predating his reign by centuries. More puzzling still, the surface of the stone seemed warm to the touch, as if it retained some hidden energy. The archaeologists who handled it later reported vivid dreams, visions of fire, of rivers running backward, of the temple above sinking into darkness. The lead researcher, Dr. Marion Vasseur, kept detailed notes of every anomaly. In her final entry, dated June 23rd, she wrote, "The deeper we go, the more it feels like the air itself resists us. It's as if this place remembers. 2 days later, she and her team broke through the final seal. They saw carvings unlike anything from known dynasties. Men with jackal heads bowing before a sphere of light, serpents coiling around what looked like floating islands, and a great ship sailing through a sea of stars. At the end of the descent, they reached a vast underground hall, the hidden island of Karnak. It was not an island of earth, but of stone. A perfectly circular platform, surrounded by dark water that reflected no light. In its center stood a monolith, half buried in the silt, carved from a single block of black granite. On its surface were concentric rings of inscriptions spiraling inward, the language of the first priests, older than any known Egyptian dialect. As they studied it, strange vibrations echoed through the water. Instruments malfunctioned, compasses spun wildly, and one by one the lights began to dim. When the team resurfaced, their footage was corrupted. Frames overlapping, audio distorted by a deep humming tone. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities sealed the site the following week. Dr. Vasseur was reassigned, and all data from the dig was classified as inconclusive. Yet the story didn't end there. Unofficial sources claim that during those final hours, the team discovered an ancient mechanism beneath the monolith, a massive stone disc inscribed with the image of a winged sun. The inscriptions warned, "Disturb not the waters below, for they hold the shadow of the sky." In Egyptian cosmology, the waters below none were the primordial chaos from which the gods emerged. If the island beneath Karnak truly existed, it may have been a physical representation of that chaos, a sacred place meant to anchor heaven to earth. The temple above was, and then history forgot. The island never stopped sleeping. Modern satellite imaging reveals strange electromagnetic anomalies centered beneath Karnak's sacred lake. Readings fluctuate every solstice, aligning with the temple's ancient sun corridors. Some physicists believe it's due to subterranean quartz deposits reacting to temperature shifts. Local legends tell a different story. Every year, when the sun reaches its zenith, the water trembles, and faint lights can be seen dancing beneath the surface. They call it the heart of Ammonius. If the ancient priests truly buried something beneath the temple, a relic, an energy, or perhaps a remnant of a forgotten civilization, it might explain the inexplicable precision of Egypt's earliest architecture. How did they align structures across miles, synchronize temples with constellations, or move granite blocks weighing hundreds of tons? Maybe the answer lies not in the stars above, but in the island below. Because across cultures, from Mesopotamia's Abzu to the Greek underworld Styx, there is always a forbidden water, a sacred boundary between worlds. Perhaps Karnak's lake is Egypt's version of that cosmic gate, the threshold between mortal and divine. The ancients called such places Zep Tepi, the first time, the moment when gods walked among men, when creation was raw and alive. If so, then the temple of Ammonius is not merely the house of a god. It is a tomb not for a man but for a world. And like all tombs in Egypt, it was never meant to be opened. Perhaps that's why the excavations were halted. Perhaps some doors, once unsealed, cannot be closed again, because beneath the sand and stone, under the silence of centuries, something still stirs, waiting for the curious and the reckless to return. And when they do, the waters of the sacred lake will ripple once more, reflecting not the sun above, but the shadow of something ancient below, something that remembers being worshipped and has not forgotten its dominion. So when you stand before the towering columns of Karnak, and you feel that unexplainable chill, that quiet sense of awe and unease, remember, the gods of Egypt were never gone. They are simply beneath us, dreaming in stone, waiting for the next trespasser to awaken their sacred island once again.